Okay, here's a video of our first semester week 1 notes. So this first thing is rounding rules, and the first thing we need to know is milliliters. Milliliters is probably the most important one we have in nursing, right? Many medications are done in nursing, so here we go. So milliliters, right, abbreviated L, capital L, lowercase m. And if it's less than 1 milliliter we're talking about, so small dose, right, small little amount of milliliters, then we round to the hundredths place, hundredths. So an example of this would be something like 0.579. Right? This is not a hundredths place, but the 9 is in the thousandths place. So if we want to round that appropriately, since 9 is more than 5, we round to 0.58. Round the 7 up. Okay. So if greater than 1 milliliter, we round to the tenths. So example, right, would be 27. Let's see, do you say we did some math and we got 27.649. And we wanted to round to the tenths place. So to round to the tenths place, we take the 6 is in the tenths place, so that's what we're looking at. So if we take, that's not what I wanted to do. If we take the 6, the 4, which is right after, it doesn't matter what's after the 4, it matters what's right after the 6. So if we take that 6, right, and since it's a 4 there, it's less than 5, we round down. We say we keep it where it is. So 27.6 milliliters is the answer. And I should have milliliters here. Units are very important, so we want to write them. Okay. So let's go over kilograms and pounds. So kilograms and pounds aren't as important. Typically we round, right? Kilograms is abbreviated with a kg, and pounds is abbreviated with a LPS. I don't know why. Don't ask me. I won't tell you because I don't know. We round both of these to the tenths. So tenths. Not as important as milliliters because mostly you're rounding these when you're talking about weighing somebody or a baby or something like that. So tenths is what we round to. So an example again would be if I wanted to measure myself. I'm not going to say how many pounds I weigh, but let's say I weigh 127.6 pounds. So, all right, this is already rounded to the tenths place. So, many weighing systems actually already round this to us. So we'll talk about rounding and where to round a little bit later. But there's an example of pounds or kilograms, whichever one we have. So milligrams. Milligrams abbreviated mg, or grams abbreviated g. Both of which are rounded to the thousandths place, so thousandths. Thousandths, which is 3 decimals away. So an example, again, would be 0.257. Right, grams or milligrams. Not many things do we have to do. Our answers end up in milligrams, but there it is. All right, so let's continue on. Let's talk about a couple things. The nursing professors told me that we need to go over, so trailing zeros and leading zeros. So trailing zeros, what is a trailing zero? A trailing zero is something like, when I do some math, I might end up with something like 1.05, think $1.50, which is fine for dollars, but if we're dealing with something like milligrams or grams. So if we're dealing with, let's call this milligrams, this last zero, this trailing zero in that last place has no purpose and is actually confusing to people sometimes. So whereas with $1.50, it's not, right? But here in milligram terms, it is. So what we would do, we would round this, right? Not really round, but we would just cut off that trailing zero and write it as 1.5 milligrams, even though our way we round milligrams is to the thousandths. We don't need all those zeros afterwards. It's just confusing. All right. Same thing goes for leading zeros. Well, kind of the opposite thing, I should say. The opposite thing being, so if I had, for instance, 1.75 so there's a 0.75 milligrams, right? 0.175 milligrams. So, right, this is a little confusing because we're missing something here to kind of really be able to see this dot, right? And many doctors write really fast, and nurses and people in general write really fast. And so you might miss that dot, and you might think it's 175 milligrams as opposed to 0.175 milligrams, and that would be drastic difference between a medication from one to the other. So to avoid that confusion, we add leading zeros, right? Even when I teach, I have to add the leading zero because my decimals can be a little bit off because I'm not the neatest person, as you can probably see from this video. Okay. So we have to add this leading zero, all right? Just like on the opposite way, we get away from the trailing zeros. No trailing zeros, yes to leading zeros, okay? So that's leading zeros and trailing zeros, okay? So watch out for those. They told me they might take off some points from you if you leave them there. All right. So military time is another thing we use a lot because it's confusing if I say 2. Hey, meet me at 2, right? I don't know whether I'm talking about 2 a.m. or 2 p.m. because nurses work around the clock depending upon what time they have, whether they have the graveyard shift or not, right? So since we have that, let's go over how we write in military time. So military time is pretty easy for most people, right? So 2 p.m. So anything in the PMs, right? Anything in the PMs. We add 12 to it. So, right? So instead of saying 2 p.m., we would say 14, right? Adding 12 to 2, I get 14, and then we need the minutes. 1400 is what we would say. Let's meet at 1400, and that would be less confusing because there's no 2 p.m. or 2 a.m. Which one is it? I don't know. Come to work at 1400. So in the nursing department, they use military time. So let's do it again on the next one. So I got 9:45 p.m. So it's p.m. again. So which means that I have to add 12 to 9, making it what? 21. I think I did this wrong the first time I did it. I said 19, but 21. Oops, I did something totally wrong. So this is not what we do, right? I do not put. Whoops, I erased my zero up here. So I cannot put those colons that I actually put there. So, right, so it would be 21, adding 12 to 9, I get 2145. 2145. So something like that is what they say. I'm not exactly sure what they say, but that's the time. All right. So 9:45 p.m. is 2145. Is how we say the military time. All right. So how about 8:15 a.m.? All right, this is a.m. So here's the trick, right? We do nothing. So we do nothing. Technically, though, I still need 4 numbers no matter what. So I add a 0 at the front. 815 is the time. So going backwards now, we can get 2205 as the time. 2205, I would need to subtract 12 from 22, which would make it 10. And then we add the 05 at the end, right? What time is this? This is more than 12, so we have PM. So we have 10:05 p.m. is what 22:05 is. Okay, and that's military time. So now we'll try it, right? You can pause this video if you want and try it yourself, right? And then I'll go over each one really quickly here. So, all right, go ahead and pause now. And now I'm going to go. All right. So, right, so I want to round. I want to round 10.785 milliliters. Appropriate. That is over 1. So I'm going to round to the hundredths place. So if I'm rounding to the hundredths place, right, if I'm rounding to the hundredths place, then I need to look at the number next to 8. That didn't work the way I wanted it to. So I need to look at this 8, right? And we are going to round, we're going to look at that 8, and then we're going to say, okay, well, this 5 right next to the 8 tells us where to round. If it's 5 or more, we let the 8 score, meaning I'm going to add 1 to the 8. So it's 5 or more, right? So I'm going to add 1 to the 8. So making it 10.79. Oops, I totally did that wrong. Okay, so this is good though, right? I messed up how? I messed up because this is over 1 and I need to round to the tenths, not the hundredths. So let's back up. So, right, it's okay. Back up. I'm going to erase all that. I'm going to erase all that. Let's go back, right? It's the tenths. Go to the tenths, right? I'm looking at the 7, right? So, but again, right, the 7 is followed by an 8, which is 5 or more. 5 or more, we let the 7 score, meaning I'm going to make it 10.8 milliliters, right? That's all our measurements can do, right? Many times you'll just be restricted to what you're measuring with. All right, going on. Number 2. So, right, oh, look at that problem. So, something in the beginning missing there. I should really have a 0 there. 0.9249, right? Milliliters we're talking about. Milliliters, again, less than 1. So we're going to round to the hundredths place, right? Round to the hundredths place. I'm looking at this 4. I don't care what's after the 4, right? We do not take the 9 and make that 4 bigger. So I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to look at the 2, right, in the hundredths place, and then right before the 2, it's a 4, it's 5 or less, so I'm going to let this rest. So meaning that I'm not going to change the 2 at all, I just cut off everything after the 2. So 0.92 milliliters is how we write that. All right, moving on. Now we got pounds. So pounds is rounded to the hundredths, to the tenths again. There we go again. So to the tenths again. So here we are, right? I look before the tenths. I look at that 7, and I say, oh, that's more than 5. 5 or more, so I'm going to let the 9 score. I'm going to add 1 to the 9, making it 10. But if I make that 10, that means, right, that 7 moves up, this 7 moves up to an 8. So my new number is going to be 128.0. Should I write that 0.0? Heck no. Let's go. Right, oops, my eraser took away the 8. So we want to make it 128 pounds, even. All right, no trailing zeros. All right, next I got 1.4502 milligrams, which I want to round to the thousandths place, which is right here. Looking at the previous one, the one before it is 2. That's 4. That's 4 or less, so we're going to let the 0 rest. So that would be just writing it down and taking off the rest. So this, do I keep that trailing 0? Nope. Get rid of the trailing 0, and my eraser is big and fat, so it keeps losing stuff. So 1.45 milligrams is what we're talking about. All right. Last but not least, right? Nice problem, Andre. Yes, I'm complimenting myself. All right. So this is grams we're talking about, which we round to the thousandths place, which is technically this 9. So looking at the last number right after that 9, that's 5 or more. So I'm going to let this 9 score, which means it's going to become 10, which means this 9 is going to become 10, which means this 9 is going to become 10, which means this 9 is going to become 10, which makes this 5, 6. Whew. Sometimes this happens. It's a nice Andre problem, though. I get 260, and I'm not going to put a bunch of trailing zeros at the end of this, right, and do this kind of thing, because that's just too much and confusing. So let's get rid of that. I do need that other zero, though, that erased, because that holds the position to say this is 260 instead of 26. So there we go. That's rounding. Hopefully that makes sense. If not, right, you can look up more videos on YouTube. You can come by me or anything. Come by to my office, and we'll do more rounding as we go. All right. So now military time. Okay, so military time. So turn this 1:35 a.m. into military time. It is a.m. early in the morning, so we don't add anything. We just put a 0 in front because we need 4 numbers, 1, 3, 5. So that would be the time in military time, right? Same thing with 12:27 a.m. So there's kind of the funny thing about this one is time starts at midnight. So, right, this is 27 minutes after midnight. So 000 would be midnight. 0000, 4 zeros, would be midnight, which means that this, right, we would actually get rid of the 12 here. We would actually lose the 12. So we have 0027. So this is a weird thing about military time. There is 1 a.m. where we actually do something with the 12. So, okay. And now going to 4 p.m. 4 p.m. we are talking about p.m. So I'm going to add 12 to 4. So adding 12 to 4, I get 16, right? And this is hours, so we need our minutes, which is 00. 1,600 hours. So, and again, I have 7 p.m. I'm going to add 12 to the 7, making it 19, and write down the minutes, 47. 1947 is when we're going to meet, or whatever it means. I don't know. So, anyhow, that's military time. Hopefully that makes sense. Let's convert to standard time for military time, just for fun. So, 00:35, this is 35 minutes after midnight, which would make it 12:35 a.m. Okay? So, 10:05. So right, I'm saying it in the right proper thing. All I really have to do here is add 2 dots right there. So this would be 10:05, and we're talking about AM because it's less than 12. All right. Now we got something over 12. Right. This is right. If I subtract 12 from 23, I get 11. Write down the hours. The minutes is 59. And we are talking about PM because it's past 1200. So, and last but not least, 1700, right? 17 is more than 12, so this is a PM. If I take 17 minus 12, that is 5 PM. I don't have to write the zeros there if I don't want to, right? It's not a trailing zero or anything. This is just military time versus standard time. All right. Hopefully that works. Let's move on. All right. So one big thing we're going to do a lot in this class and in our next coming classes as well, even in the next semester, is we are going to convert. We're going to convert over and over, and hopefully you've seen the cards to be able to convert, and I'm noticing now that my measurements is spelled wrong. That's okay. We can deal with that. I'll deal with it later. So anyhow, so I need to convert, and so I need conversion factors. I need to know standard conversion factors and metric conversion factors. So for instance, if I wanted to convert from milliliters to liters or liters to milliliters, I need a factor. I need to understand that 2 things are equal. If I have 1,000 milliliters, that is equal to 1 liter, which is abbreviated with a capital L. Or 1,000 milligrams is equal to 1 gram. Or 1,000 micrograms, mcg, is equal to 1 milligram. All right. So things like that. So a metric system is beautiful. It's just a moving of decimals a lot of the times. Whereas we're here in America and we are on the standard system. So we have things like pounds and ounces and tablespoons and teaspoons and gallons and horrible measuring things that came back from the days of kings and queens. Right? A foot comes from the idea of the king's foot, which is horrible measurement thing to measure. So, all right. So, anywho, that's me going off on the standard system. So we have to be able to convert back and forth from like a kilogram to pounds, for instance. So kilogram, right? Kg. 1 kilogram is actually equal to, well, approximately, I should say, but we're going to use 2.2. Right? It's not the best way to do this. It's 2.2 pounds. It's not the best way to do this, and we could use more decimals because it's not exact, but this is what we're using. Okay? So I want you always to use this 2.2 pounds equals 1 kilogram to do this. All right. Another thing to keep in mind is that 30 milliliters equals... 30 milliliters equals, is it 1 ounce? Yeah. 1 ounce. Abbreviated OZ. That's a Z, not a 2. 15 milliliters is equal to 1 tablespoon. Abbreviated capital T, B, S, P. Sorry, I got a little big there. 5 milliliters is equal to 1 teaspoon. Right? 5.4 centimeters, cm, is equal to 1 inch. Many of these we will not use, but we will be using pounds to kilogram, milliliters, ounces to milliliters, and so forth. Well, so those are the big ones. The other ones aren't as big, but we do measure things a lot in ounces, and then have to possibly convert them to milliliters and so forth. So, all right. So let's talk about that converting. How do we convert? So, and why can we convert? So, all right. So let's recall a couple things. So one thing is that we can write equivalent fractions. So we can write the same or equal fractions in different ways. So for example, 3/4 equals, if I multiply the top and the bottom by 2, right? 3 times 2 is 6. 4 times 2 is 8. So, right, 4 times 2 is 8. So, and so forth. So I could do 3 times 3 is 9. 4 times 3 is 12. So, right, so to get this fraction 9/12 is exactly the same. They're equal to 3/4, right? We're not simplifying. All I'm trying to convince you of is that if I multiply, right, if I take 3/4 and multiply by like 4 on the top and the bottom, or any number that's the same, right? You can multiply pi for all I care, pi on the top, pi on the bottom. If we multiply, right, 3 times 4, I get 12. And on the bottom, I get 4 times 4, which is 16. This is equal, right? This number, 12/16, is equal to 3/4. And that's what I'm saying, right? If I multiply the top and the bottom by the same thing, I get the same thing back. So, right, I get the same fraction. This is an equivalent fraction. So what is 4 divided by 4? 4 divided by 4 is 1. All I'm doing here when I multiply 3/4 by 4 over 4, I'm really just multiplying by 1. And when I multiply anything by 1, I get the anything back. So here I am just justifying to you why we can do this and why it doesn't change the fraction number at all, right? So that is why. So, all right. So now we're not dealing with this whole building up the fractions, but what I am talking about is the fact that if I take a fraction, so let's say I take a fraction, I take this 2.2 pounds, and I'm going to write the units here. We always want to write the units, to 1 kilogram. This number, this fraction here, 2.2 pounds over 1 kilogram, is actually equal to 1. I know it doesn't look like it, and I know if I divide by 1, I'll get 2.2, right? This is kind of, I'm going to put this 1 in quotes. Let me put it in quotes. This is 1 because 2.2 pounds, why isn't this working? 2.2 pounds my pen died on me. Oh, hold on. That's why. 2.2 pounds is the same as 1 kilogram. So 2.2 pounds is the same number as 1 kilogram. So we get, right, in quotes, 1 when we do this. Right? This is why we're allowed to multiply by this fraction, or also equivalently, or also another fraction we might be able to use is 1 kilogram over 2.2 pounds. What we're using here and what we're going to use in the future is what's called dimensional analysis, and hopefully you've been through my first semester group and you're just reviewing, because these are the cards that we use, right? These are the cards. I have one card. This would be the front side. This would be the front side, and the other thing would be the back side, right, of the card. And we get to choose which one we want depending upon the problem we have, right? And we're going to multiply our numbers from the problem to this. So let me erase that so we can read the number. So here I'm going to convert 230 pounds to kilograms is what I want to do. So I want to do that. Let's get my pen out. So 230 pounds, I want to convert to 1 kilogram. So, right, I'm going to get rid of this equal to. Let's get rid of that. So I'm going to take 230 pounds, right? This is kind of a fraction always. This is already a fraction if I write a 1 over it. 230 pounds, right, per one person, I could think of it if I want to. And so I want to convert it to kilograms, which means I want to get rid of the pounds. And what I love about conversions is that when we do this, I want pounds to go away. So it's kind of like how things cancel in mathematics with fractions, so what I mean is that when I write a fraction, which fraction do I want to use? Do I want to use the 2.2 pounds over 1 kilogram, or do I want to use the 1 kilogram over 2.2 pounds? There's a choice there. So if I want this to cancel, right, I want pounds to be in the bottom so I can cancel with the pounds in the top. We will talk about this over and over again to make sure. So this is the fraction I want. So that means 2.2 pounds goes in the bottom and 1 kilogram goes in the top, right? Which allows me to then cancel the pounds, right? Because it cancels just like in math. And what I'm left with is units of kilograms. So what do we have? When we're all said and done, what I have is 230 times 1, which is just 230 over 1 times 2.2, right, kilograms. So I'm going to do the math. I'm going to multiply all in the top first. I'm going to multiply all in the top first, then I'm going to multiply all in the bottom second, and then we're going to do this division. You don't have to write this part that I just wrote. You can do it in your calculator, right? I'm just trying to explain what's going on with the mathematics. So now we need our calculator. I don't have my calculator out, so here we go. So I'm going to take 230 and divide by 2.2. And it equals 104.5 if I round appropriately. Kilograms is what we're talking about. kg. All right, and this is my answer. All right, so hopefully that makes sense, because we are going to be converting quite a lot in this. Let's do it again. So let's do it again to convert 34 kilograms to pounds. So going the opposite way. So again, I'm going to get rid of this equals to. This is my problem. So I got 34 34 kilograms per one person, right? I'm going to multiply that by one of my choices for kilograms to pound conversion fraction. So, right, if I put kilograms in the top, that won't help me. I can't cancel them out. So what I want to do is I want to get rid of that. So I'm going to put kilograms in the bottom so they will cancel. Pounds in the top, so that's 2.2 in the top, 1 kilogram in the bottom. Now we can see that my kilograms cancel and I'll be left with pounds. All right, so now I can go through, enter this into my calculator. If I notice, right, in the bottom all I have is 1 and that goes away. In the top I just take 34 and multiply it by 2.2 and I get 74.8 pounds. I don't know why my pen's not doing. There we go. So as the answer, always write those units and round appropriately. But my problem actually gave me 74.8. So which was the appropriate rounding already. So watch out, show your work, right? Particularly for the exam at the end of the semester, kind of thing. That's what the instructors told me. So let's go through some more examples, and then I'll give you some to do. So, for instance, if I wanted to convert 79.2 milliliters into ounces. Usually we go the opposite way, ounces into milliliters, but I just want to try and make sense of what we're talking about with conversions here. So, all right, so 79.2 milliliters. You can start off with that amount per one person or whatever we're talking about. I'm going to multiply it by another fraction, my 30 milliliters in 1 ounce, right? Kind of thing. So I either have 30 milliliters over 1 ounce, or I can either use 30 milliliters over 1 ounce, or I can use 1 ounce over 30 milliliters, right? And these should be the cards you have. There's one side, there's the other side. All right, so I have to choose which one I want, right? So notice the milliliters is on top, and if I want them to cancel, I should have milliliters in the bottom here, and ounces would go on the top. So this is 1 ounce and 30 milliliters, okay? Right, and then milliliters cancel. I'm left with ounces, which is what I want. So what do we end up getting? Right, what am I going to do? I'm going to do 79.2 times 1 times 30. Right, so all I get is 79 over 30. So I'm going to divide those. Right, 79.2 divided by 30 equals 2.64 ounces. We have no way to tell if this, right, what kind of rounding rules we have for ounces, so we'll just leave it at that. Approximately probably 1/10, so a tenths, round to the tenths place for ounces. We're talking about measuring stuff, but we always convert from ounces into milliliters for our problems, because milliliters is what we work in the nursing field. All right, moving on. So I want to do 4 liters in 3.5 hours into liters per hour. So this is what I want to convert it into. So that's weird because I have liters and I have hours, right? And I want to convert it into liters per hour. All I have to do, so if I want, by the way, per in mathematics means division. So what I'm looking for is liters per hour units wise. So if that's what I want, then all I have to do is take 4 liters and divide it by 3.5 hours. So if I do that division, right, 4 divided by 3.5, I get 1 point approximately. So approximately, you don't need those squiggles, but it just bugs me because I'm a math person, right? And we are talking about liters, so, right, don't know where to round here. for what's appropriate, so I'm going to round to where I think is appropriate. 1.143 if I round to that thousandths place. So we are talking about liters per hour is the answer. So, all right. So the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because the next semester we do this more. And this is really the true benefit of our cards. So now I want to convert this answer. So I want to convert my 1.143, and let me write it like this, 1.143 liters per 1 hour, because that's what it means. Right? And I want to convert it into milliliter per minute. So one thing I need to do would be to convert the liters into milliliters. So, right, I need to cancel out the liters, and I want milliliters left in the top because that's what I want it to be. Right? So there are how many milliliters in a liter? 1,000 milliliters per 1 liter. All right, so this would be the side of the card we'd want to use. Then I also want to convert hours, right, into minutes. How do I convert hours into minutes? Oh, by the way, many students can just say, 1 hour is 60 minutes. Let me just rewrite that as 60 minutes, and that's fine. Okay, so, but let me show the conversion. So if I want to cancel the hours, notice the hours is in the denominator here. Hours is in the bottom, which means I need to cancel. If I need to cancel it, I need hours in the top, right? And minutes in the bottom, because I want minutes to be in the bottom of my answer. All right. So since I want that, I got 1 hour, I got 60 minutes, right? And let's show the canceling, because this is the beauty of dimensional analysis, which makes it so easy to see that I get my minutes in my denominator and I get my milliliters in my numerator left over. So my answer, right, all said and done, will have milliliters per minute when I do all this math. So what math am I going to do? I'm going to take 1.143 and I'm going to multiply it by 1,000, right? Then I'm going to divide by 60 in the end. All right, because it's 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 60, and that doesn't matter. So I'm going to do that. So let me do it in my calculator now. I'm going to multiply by 1,000, so I'll multiply that 1.143 by 1,000, and then I'm going to divide by 60. So then what I got was 19, and this is, 19. This is milliliters we're talking about per minute. The minute doesn't matter, but it's still units of milliliter. I got 19.04 milliliters, but I want to round it because it's above 1. I want to round it to the tenths place. So 19.04 will get rounded to 19.0. 19.0, we don't want trailing zeros, so clearly it's just really just 19 milliliters per minute as the answer. All right. Here's a You Try It section. This is the last You Try It of this week, right? So you go ahead and stop the video and you pause it. And then I'll continue on this video to explain it. So, all right, so here I go. So I'm going to convert the following to the desired units. I want 3 ounces to milliliters. 3 ounces to milliliters. So I want 3 OZ per 1 whatever. I like putting the 0.1. I'm going to convert it to milliliters, right? So I either need milliliters in top, but I also need ounces in bottom to cancel out the ounces of the 3 ounces. So there are 30 milliliters per 1 ounce. So this is going to be a standard conversion for us. So noticing the canceling, boom, boom. I do like seeing this. Canceling and boxing, it really helps you understand what's going on here. If you fully understand it, then it's not important. But let's just do it and for a little bit to make sure you understand it. So now I just take 3 times 30, which is 90 milliliters. That's what we're talking about. Technically, this is an approximation because that's not an exact conversion. All right. So 1/4 teaspoon to 2 milliliters. So I want to convert my tablespoon. Sorry, I said teaspoon. This is tablespoon. So I have 15 milliliters and 1 tablespoon. So, and I have a quarter. So a quarter, right, I can write as 1/4 if I want to, but that's kind of working with fractions. If you don't like fractions, then I might suggest working with a quarter. So 0.25, right? We're talking about 0.25 tablespoons per one person, one thing, right? And then I'm going to multiply by, right, the conversion with tablespoons in the bottom and milliliters in the top, right, to get them to cancel. There is 15 milliliters and 1 tablespoon. And now I get to see my tablespoons canceling, and I'm left over with my milliliters to get what I got to do this math. I can't do it in my head, so right on my calculator, 0.25 times 15 equals 3.75. So we're talking about 3.75 milliliters. So we're talking about, I can't stop there because this is above 1. Right? And so I have to round appropriately to 3.8 milliliters. Sorry for the bad writing and board work. All right. So 20 milliliters, 2 teaspoons, right? Again, probably not something you'll do in the future, but because we usually go to 2 milliliters, not to teaspoons, but I just want to test you. I just want you to think about how this conversion stuff works. So I take my 20 milliliters, starting off with per one person. I'm going to multiply it by the fraction with milliliters in the bottom and teaspoons in the top. There are 5 milliliters per every 1 teaspoon. Right? And again, noticing the canceling of my milliliters and what's left with teaspoons. What I end up with is 20 over 5, which is 4 teaspoons. Okay, so now we can go to inches to centimeters. So, right, maybe measuring a baby's head, a baby in general, kind of thing. So if I want to convert this, right, and all your stuff does this for you nowadays, I know, but again, we're trying to understand the mathematics to save lives here. So I'm going to take 19 inches per 1 baby or whatever we're talking about. I want inches to cancel, so I need inches in the bottom, centimeters in the top, right? What is our conversion rate for inches to centimeters? I need to look it up myself, which was 2.54 centimeters, 2.54 centimeters and 1 inch. So right here, the inches will cancel. We'll be left with centimeters if I just multiply the 19 times 2.54, and that'll equal 48.26, which I need to round to 1 decimal place because inches is 1. Did we ever talk about that? I don't think we talked about length. I would say it's probably about 1 decimal place is good for that, but doesn't matter. So let's just write 48.26 centimeters would be the answer, right? So if they ever ask you a question like that, no, please. In the nursing program, I want to understand why they would be asking something like that and where we're rounding to, okay? So, all right. So Now let's convert 100 centimeters to inches. 100 centimeters, I'm converting per person. I'm converting that to inches, so I'm going to have centimeters on the bottom, inches on the top. For it to cancel, again, there's 2.54 centimeters and 1 inch. We can see then, right, the centimeters cancel, the inches left over, so that we can then say we take 100 and divide it by 2.54, and that equals 39.37 with a bunch of zeros and other things afterwards. So I'm rounding to the second decimal here just to be safe. Inches. Right. Most likely it would be rounded to the first decimal place if you're doing this. All right. So that's some conversions. Let's go to the next set. All right, number 6. I got milliliters to liters. So these are great, right? It's just going from metric to metric. So I just need the conversion. Still, conversions work. I'm really just going to move the decimal. So if you know how to move the decimal, all right, do it. All right, so I got 780 milliliters to one person or whatever. Whatever. So I want milliliters to cancel. So I want milliliters in the bottom, liters in the top. 1,000 milliliters to 1 liter is what we're talking about. All right, things cancel. Milliliters, and I'm left with liters. And I get, really, so I'm dividing by 1,000. There's 3 zeros here. So, which means I'm going to move this decimal that is technically right here over 3 times. 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to move it in front. So I'm going to move it in front. So I got 780. Right. I should put the decimal right here is what it's saying. Right. But there's issues. So this is liters. Right. There's a trailing 0 here I need to get rid of. And there's no leading 0 in front. So technically I should write this as 0.78 liters. All right. Going again, number 7. So, right, 0.54 grams over 1 times, right, I want the grams to cancel, so I'm going to have grams in the bottom, milligrams in the top. There are 1,000 milligrams to 1 gram. All right, cancel, box. All right, sorry I didn't do the color. I'm getting lazy here, but hopefully you understand. Now I'm multiplying, so the zeros make this number bigger, right? Moving that decimal over 3 to the right, I'm going to get 540. Yowzers. That was horrible. 540 milligrams is what we're talking about. All right. So doing the next one, micrograms to milligrams. So I got 0.97 micrograms. I want to convert it per 1, right? I want to convert it to milligrams. So I'm going to cancel out the micrograms with the milligrams. I have 1 milligram and 1,000 micrograms. All right, things will cancel, and I'll be left with milligrams, which is what I want in the top, not the bottom. That's not milligrams. So, right, so again, I'm dividing by 1,000, which moves the decimal 3 times to the left. So, giving me 1, 2, 3 extra zeros in front of the 97. Whew. That writing is horrible. Let me try and rewrite that. Something was going on with my pen. 0.123097 milligrams. Okay, there we go. All right, so what if I wanted to convert grams to microgram? Right? So this is going to be lovely. So, all right, our conversion rates are 1,000 to milligrams, 1,000 milligrams to gram, and 1,000 micrograms to milligrams. So we can use them both. I just want to have a two-step conversion, right? So I'm going to cancel out the grams, right, to make it milligrams. That's 1,000 milligrams per 1 gram. I'm going to cancel out the milligrams on my next step. It's 1 milligram per 1,000 micrograms. All right. I want you to see a two-step process. Canceling out. I am left with micrograms. We are multiplying by 1,000 twice, right? Moving the decimal 6 times is really 1 million. So I'm multiplying by 1 million, or moving the decimal 6 times, right? 1, 2, 3 would make it 75. 1, 2, 3 more would make it 75,000 micrograms. Sorry, I got a little over the top there. That's the answer. All right. Hopefully this helped. Thanks for watching.